That weed was never a weed. It just didn't bloom the way we expected. It grew in places we were told truth shouldn't grow, between the cracks, under the rust, beside the broken. It made us uncomfortable. It wasn't part of the landscaping plan. So we called it wrong. We called it wild. We called it less than. But what if the weed wasn't the problem? What if the problem was the way we looked at it? This whole piece we're about to walk into, it isn't just about discernment. That's the runoff, the baby pool. We're about to step into the deep end now. The part where we stop trimming the surface and ask, who gave us the shears in the first place? Because what we thought was wisdom might have just been fear in a costume. And what we tried to kill might have been the truth trying to live. So here it is, the weed that wasn't a weed, the soul cracking through the concrete, the voice of God coming up through the cracks, discernment. It sounds like a virtue, doesn't it? Sounds like something our wise auntie would offer with a squint and a sip of tea. But let's slow that down. Let's look closer. Discernment means the ability to make an insightful judgment. Hold up. Judgment? Insightful? Have we ever seen a knife that heals when it cuts? Neither have we. Discernment is judgment in Sunday clothes. It's a wolf in wisdom's wardrobe. It's ego in a velvet robe whispering, "Don't worry, I'm not judging, I'm just seeing clearly." But let's not be fooled by satin syllables. This isn't spiritual clarity. It's spiritual comparison. We're calling something insightful based on a filter. And what's that filter built on? Past pain, old preferences, cultural conditioning, our mama's voice in one ear and our algorithm in the other. Discernment is still about division. It's trying to sort the dream. Like someone rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic and calling it progress. The Course says, perception is selective. So when we claim keen perception, we're just saying we got a sharper knife. But the truth doesn't need a blade. It doesn't slice. It doesn't separate. It doesn't say, this, not that. That's not clarity. That's the glittered mask of ego. And ego loves shiny tools. It hands us discernment like it's a compass, but it only points to itself. Let's paint a picture. We're standing in a garden. Every flower is different. Some tall, some wild, some barely blooming. And here comes discernment, pruning shears in hand, saying, only the roses get to stay. But God made the dandelions too. And the weeds. And that little crooked bloom growing sideways through the fence. What if the garden doesn't need a judge? What if it just needs a witness? That's vision. Vision doesn't pick favorites. Vision doesn't prune. Vision just sees. It sees beyond form, beyond behavior, beyond preference. It sees wholeness in everything, even in what the world would call wrong. So, when we say someone has good discernment, let's ask ourselves, by whose standard? What makes one candidate the right one? What makes one moment more meaningful than another? Is that our judgment talking? Or our remembrance? Discernment lives in the courthouse. Vision lives in the heart. Discernment says, choose wisely. Vision says, there is nothing to choose between. Now here's the kicker. We ask, who gave us discernment? Where'd we get this filter? Who handed us the blade we're calling wisdom? Was it God? No, mighty companion. God doesn't hand out knives. God doesn't teach us how to judge more accurately. God teaches us to see without judgment. That's vision. That's peace. That's the garden, untamed and free. So, what do we want? A sharp eye? Or a soft gaze? Discernment may make us feel powerful, but vision will set us free. Let's ask the only question that matters. What if the voice that told us to be discerning was the same voice that taught us to be afraid? What if the wild thing we called unworthy was the doorway? What if that weed was never a weed? What if it was the soul breaking through? The vision beneath the pruning? The voice of God coming up through the cracks?